Great. DP item number 5, discussion and vote, approval to pay invoice number 5.8.24-1 to Schreiber Law Firm in the amount of $1,800. In November 2023, the City of Saratoga Springs established a budgetary assignment for the liability for legal expenses in the amount of $200,000. Those funds are available to be used for providing legal services for city officers and employees. Schreiber Law has provided such legal services to 2 members of the DPW staff related to the subpoena over the on-call resolution. These services were rendered between April 30th and June 12th, 2024 in the amount of $1,800 and $450, amounting to a total cost of $2,340. Both this and my next agenda item shall seek council approval for those. Invoices. Motion. Therefore, I move for the authorization to pay invoice number 5.8.24-1 to Schreiber Law in the amount of $1,800 from the funds originating from the legal liability expense line, and I put that forward in the form of motion. The legal liability assignment line. And I put that forward in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now we can discuss it. This is something we're discussing. This is so complicated because of this lawsuit that we were talking about. If it's all right with you, I'd like to ask our attorney to come forward. I'd like to ask a question pertinent to this.
I also have something to share from Judge Freestone.
Okay. So can you wait just a second?
So this is an email that was received today from the chambers of Judge Freestone. Attorney Schreiber, I discussed your August 12th, 2023 email with Justice Freestone. In response, she wishes to advise that there is presently nothing before this court relative to your law firm, nor the services referenced in your email and the corresponding legal bills. The lawsuit mentioned, namely the matter of Brandy versus the City of Saratoga Springs et al., index number EF 202-42135, and the corresponding order to show cause with temporary restraining order pertains solely to payments for services rendered by Orrick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe LLP to Commissioner of Accounts Dylan Moran and his Deputy Commissioner. Thank you for your attention to the foregoing. Very truly yours, Jennifer Purcell Jerem. That is, I believe, her courthouse clerk. Yes. Principal Law Clerk, Honorable Diane Freestone, JSC.
So if I understand that correctly, the current lawsuit does not affect in any way this motion.
That is what the law clerk for the judge is stating.
Unless Mr. Brandy wants to file a separate lawsuit.
Right. No, thank you. I want Mr. Schreiber, he sent that to all of us, so we have that in our possession. And
no, sit down.
No, let me
sit down, please.
I sent you the email today. You didn't read it. And your attorney said that...
Please sit down.
Your attorney
No,
said that I wouldn't get paid because...
First warning.
Judge Freestone said she's lying. Go ahead.
So, thank you. So I understand clearly the temporary restraining order before the judge is technically independent of their bill, without question, because there's not another suit that's brought. But my concern is, and I've said this all along, the facts are very similar, and they're part of the same case, and no one has said the case is closed, right? So that's my concern. But
the question is this: if we go ahead and pay this, and the judge awards this against the city, will we have to ask the attorney to send the money back?
I think probably the people for whom we've paid would have to pay the city back, right? Because the attorney still has to get paid. It's just that the 2 people who were hired in the DPW department will have to reimburse the city, is how I understand it.
That's my understanding. The city would then have to claw back that money, and if they didn't give the money back voluntarily, it would be another lawsuit to get that money back.
But that would be from the DPW folks, not from the attorney.
And you're operating under the supposition that we're going to lose.
Of course.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
saying if we did, well, I'm only concerned
If we did, we're going to appeal. How's that sound?
would we do that? Would we appeal it?
That's a decision for city council to make after the attorneys get a chance to read the decision and discuss it with you.
Would that be expensive?
Oh, yes, appeals are expensive.
So I believe that Mr. his legal bills are very reasonable. He's a respected member of the community. My position would be, I think he should get paid. Well, can we offer a friendly amendment? We'll pay the bill based upon Judge Freestone's decision and findings.
I think Judge Freestone's decision, I mean,
Because they should
from the email itself is very clear. It does not apply A to this. And I understand your concern that it's the same case, but she is telling us that it's not applying to her right now. And again, if it does, we have to claw that money back, or the people in DPW have to reimburse the city, not the attorney. So the attorney still needs to get paid.
Let me ask.
Well, let me just ask, this may help, Commissioner. Mr. Harper, there was a conference that was requested by Mr. Obstarchik related to this matter, and it was rejected by the judge, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
So my question, Mr. Harper, is technically, I understand, is it your experience that the judge would not consider this matter, these current bills that we're talking about, until those bills got brought before her in a separate lawsuit?
That's correct. It would have to be voted on, and if another lawsuit was filed, then and only then she would consider those arguments.
And these bills, compared to Commissioner Moran's bills, don't they have very similar fact patterns?
Yes, I believe they do.
So Judge Freestone's decision would likely impact the paying of this bill as well.
Well, it would serve as a precedent, but if there isn't a second lawsuit, then there's no, I mean, this is hypothetical.
All hypothetical, I understand that, yeah.
So there's no legal impediment to authorizing payment of this bill if that's what you decide to do.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
There's no legal reason you can't pay this bill at this time.
Okay.
The only concern is that if the city loses, somebody might have to repay this to the city.
And again, it would have to be the DPW employees that would reimburse the city, not the attorney, because the attorney still provided the service and must get paid.
Well, I mean,
This is a basic concept of credit and how this works, is that you hire a vendor, they provide a service, you have to pay them. And this
Great.
impacts the city's credit if we don't pay our vendors.
it would affect what you're asking for as well, right? If we,
It would, because again,
then you would have to repay it, right?
well, yes, but again, the attorney would still have to get paid. The question would just be if the city was paying it or I was paying it, and then the city would reimburse me, because that's the other piece of this that you were talking about earlier. Now, keep in mind also, I believe, okay, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but one of the main issues with the Commissioner Moran's bill was that there was an issue of reasonableness. And it was the amount that was the issue. And this, as you can see, is what $2,340 is significantly less than the $61,000. So
But the issue of, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
there is a possibility that a second lawsuit may never happen because the issue of reasonableness has been met. And so, again, we are making we are climbing a hypothetical mountain that we don't need to climb. I think we need to pay these two bills because that's what we do. If we have vendors, we have to pay our vendors. And then if we lose the decision and we have to get the money back, we would have to get it back from the DPW employees.
And there is-
Assuming there is a second lawsuit
Yeah.
that specifically talks about the DPW employees.
And there is no reasonableness standard within our code, period.
Yeah, so, Commissioner, I agree with what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
The issue is when we first looked at Commissioner Moran's bill, I don't want to put words in your mouth. My understanding was we could pay the bills if we found them to be reasonable. Was that correct?
I'm not sure I use those exact words.
Okay.
I believe I said our city code requires that we provide a defense,
Yeah.
and the city has the authority to pay for that defense.
I think the discussion of
The authority
reasonableness,
to pay for the defense until, I mean, I'm satisfied with that thought that if we are making a mistake by paying this because it might get reversed, then the individuals, that's what you're saying, are
Yes.
responsible so that the attorney gets paid for his work.
right.
But the individual then, does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the finance prof. Of course, that makes sense.
Mr. Harper? There is proceeding or precedent in the city around this issue related to former Deputy Commissioner of Public Safety Aaron Dreyer. Would you please advise the rest of the city council what happened when they decided not to pay her bills?
It's an interesting case. In that case, just have to remember right off the bat, when it went before Judge Nolan, he was puzzled that the parties were using public officers law, Section 18. And he put a footnote in his decision saying, Dreyer claims it applies and the city agrees, so I guess it applies. Then he went on to apply it. And that case involved a city council that didn't want to pay for a defense with the allegation that Dreyer's actions were outside the scope of her employment. And Judge Nolan ruled that the duty to, it's like an insurance policy, the duty to defend is greater than the duty to indemnify. And he read the allegations against Dreyer, and he said clearly some of the allegations fall within the scope of her employment. And so he mandated that the city provide a defense. That went up on appeal, and it was sustained on appeal.
And that was criminal or civil?
That was a civil case in federal court filed by two complainants against Dreyer.
So if this scenario happened, what would we have to do to make the city whole? Would we have to go after the employees?
If there is a second lawsuit that Judge Freestone again votes against, and we have to claw back that money, we would not claw it from the attorney, we would claw it back from the DPW employees who used the services. So yes, we can do that. And again, the amount is $2,340.
So in either case,
So-
the city would be made whole.
The city will be made whole, yes. Trust me, I am pretty particular about city monies.
Is that the case?
That does make sense to me.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take a vote on this. Is there any other discussion?
So I wanted to offer that friendly amendment, and we can vote. And I will offer a friendly amendment,
Which is?
which is we'll pay this bill based upon Judge Freestone's decisions and findings.
I reject that.
But the Judge Freestone said this doesn't apply to her decision and findings. She sent that email.
Correct, but
I'm not working in the world of hypotheticals.
but Mr. Harper said it's a very similar fact pattern. So her decision is going to impact what happens with these bills. If she made this decision today, we'd have more information. We can make a much better educated decision. But we don't have that. So obviously, I believe his bills should be paid, but to be in an overabundance of caution, they'll be paid when Judge Freestone affirms the city's position.
Okay, so you're making a motion. I'll second it.
Okay.
You want to discuss this anymore?
So again, like I said, there are a couple of things with the motion. One is Judge Freestone herself or from her office has said that this bill does not impact what she has, and those are two separate things. there would have to be a separate lawsuit that would be brought forward. The issue with the first lawsuit was reasonableness and the amount of money. This is, yes, Judge Freestone just said in the email that this is a different lawsuit.
It's a different lawsuit, but she didn't comment that the lawsuit's not really about, it's not about reasonableness. It's about, can we pay criminal fees?
Right, but there would have to be a separate lawsuit that Mr. Brandy or whoever else would have to file in her court, and she would have to rule on that for that to happen.
Correct, but because it's the same fact pattern, when she rules, we'll have an indication if we can pay these criminal, if our code is in fact expansive enough to do that.
Okay.
I'm going to call the question because this is my motion.
Okay, so, well, no, we have to vote on this.
I'm
Right,
calling the
that's-
question.
He's calling the
Yeah.
question.
Okay, I'll entertain that.
There's not going to be one.
Okay, so
I'm
now
calling
we're
the question
talking
on the motion as
this
offered.
motion. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
What
No,
are
no,
we
wait.
voting on? I think I have the friendly amendment
No,
open.
there's already a
friendly
second
amendment.
on the friendly amendment. We have to vote on the friendly amendment first.
Oh, there's a second on the friendly amendment?
Yes,
Yes.
that already
Okay.
happened.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're discussing whether we should add those words.
Okay, so I want to just state the friendly amendment clearly. We will pay this bill based upon Judge Freestone's decision and findings.
That is the friendly amendment. And I seconded that. Now we can vote on that.
No.
Okay, all right. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those not in favor say no.
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 Okay, so this does not pass.
Correct.
So now we're on to the
Yep.
original motion, which is to pay these bills, correct?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Clear on this?
Yes.
I'll reread the
And-
motion if needed.
And again, I just want to make sure that I'm getting this. Even if Judge Freestone says, yes, we should not pay for it, the DPW employees have to just pay us back. We can be reimbursed. It's not like this money is gone into the ether. The DPW employees would pay us back, make the city whole, and we would be done.
Right, and if they didn't pay us back, we'd have to take action to force that, to
Right.
compel.
And
to
again,
compel
keep
them.
in mind that,
It's it's the minimus amount, right? I
yeah,
understand.
yeah,
Yes. But there is a way for the city to be made whole.
absolutely,
If the
100%.
city loses this.
And I will go personally and go talk to both of them, and they will
Yeah, well,
they
I
will
mean,
pay us back.
My whole thing from the very beginning has been the question of reasonableness, for me, just for me.
Right.
And certainly this bill is reasonable. So
Yeah.
I'm going to vote in favor of this. And we'll just have to see how things lay out from it. So I will take the vote. I'm going to take the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody negative say no.
I'm going to abstain because I
And
don't believe
there's one abs-
I don't have enough information.
All right, so there's one abstention. This matter passes tonight.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to